Hi everybody, Captain Bart 1 here. I'd like to go over some modifications I made to this SE Laser Strike here and its sheath. I got these, I bought this from Brian Sargent of Sargent Knives in California. He had them up for sale on Bushcraft USA. As a side note, I saw an article on BC USA, a thread, on modifying this knife. And actually the SE3 for people with very large hands. And I think I made mention on several occasions, I have fairly big paws. I wear a size 11 in Nomex flight gloves. I think that's the largest they make. I have pretty big hands. And the way the article read is basically, here I'll use this SE3 as the example. As you see, the SE has a choil, a secondary choil here, and then the main guard, groove, whatever you'd like to call it. Now this is the TKC aftermarket scales, and that's the same thing on the Laser Strike. This was more for people using stock scales, but with the Laser Strike I went ahead and did it anyway because it just looked good. Anyway, what it entails is grinding out this first choil here and kind of making a single transition so you can choke right up to the blade edge. Now I did not do that with this. This is actually in process of being traded, but bump the camera. There we go. Put that there. But what I did do is I borrowed Bushbum 29's belt grinder. He has one of those 1x30s from Harbor Freight. There we go. And I did grind out the choil. This blade was stripped. The blade was stripped and blued. I left the traction coating here for the handle, just so it'd be one less thing I'd have to fuss with. This does have the aftermarket Knife Connection G10s on it. I just like it because they're a little more shape and contoured, and they fit the hand really nice. And to look at this rascal now, you know, you can sit there and really just swallow up that handle. You can get right up in on it and choke in for close, or you can hang back if you need to, or you can even go like a two and a half finger for a little snap cutting. And it makes a difference. I really enjoy it. Now on the sheath here, Brian actually used a Blind Horse leather backer on this, and if he hadn't, I would have, because I've got a spare one laying over here in the pile. But a couple things I did do is I waxed the leather backer one, and it works just like a wax leather sheath. You take this off the Kydex, you put it in the oven at 170, about 10 or 15 minutes, get it good and warm. Then you get your beeswax, get it melted, and then just dunk this in. And I put it back in the oven, let it soak in, wiped it off, and I added a copper rivet just so there wasn't so much play in the belt loop. This will still fit a 2-inch belt with no sweat. You see how much tougher that is? And for those of you who are wondering, this fits in the Kydex sheath just fine. There's no retention issue. If you're real worried about it, yes, you could hit that with a hot air gun, reform it. I'm not going to. I just don't see the point. But anyway, good little modification, especially if you have big hands and you're a crafty sort. I'm not terribly crafty. I do like modifying things. When it comes to knives, I'm very reticent about grinding things off, or especially near the edge. That just makes me a little wonky. And now I filed the hump off of a BK9 before. That's not a big deal. I filed the hump off of a Bravo 1, a Bark River Bravo 1. That didn't even seem a big deal. Anytime I play on the edge side of a knife, I get very wonky, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do that. But I went ahead and did it with this. And I did reshape the G10 just a little bit on the belt at the end, just to round it off. Not a big deal. You could do this with the stock scales. Same thing, a little different. But if you have any questions, guys, give me a shout down there. Thank you for all the subscription, guys. I mean that from the heart. It's awesome that you, people still subscribing to me. Tell everyone. Till I get to see you all again, this is Captain Bart 1, standing by.